Hello everyone. Today I'm going to read another story from the Concise Yoga Vasistha by Swami Venkateshanand. And I'm going to read the story of Sukra from third chapter on existence. So we saw the first two chapters. The first chapter was on dispassion of Ram. The second chapter dealt with creation, how creation came into being and what creation is. The third chapter kind of continues into the idea of creation again. It's called On Existence. So Ram asks Vasistha a question. Oh holy sage, kindly tell me, how does this enormous universe exist in the mind? So earlier we read Vasistha telling that this whole universe is nothing but an illusion. It's Maya and like a dream. Ram is unable to grasp this idea that how this enormous universe exists in the mind, and so he asks Vasistha, and Vasistha replies with another story, the story of Sukra. A long time ago, the sage Bhrigu was performing intense penance on the peak of a mountain. His son Sukra was a young man at that time. While the father sat motionless in meditation, the young son attended to the father's needs. One day, this young man beheld in the sky a beautiful flying nymph. His mind was disturbed with desire for her, and so was her mind disturbed when she saw the radiant young Sukra. Intensely overcome by desire for the nymph, Sukra closed his eyes and mentally pursued her. He reached heaven. There he saw the radiant celestial beings, gods and their consorts. He saw the creator Brahma himself and the other deities who govern the universe. He saw the Siddha perfected beings, and he saw Indra. So after Sukra sees Indra got up from his throne and he greets the young sage. And Indra asked Sukra to stay in the heaven, and Sukra, he consented, and by consenting he totally forgot about his previous identity altogether. Then after spending some time in the court of Indra, Sukra roamed the heaven and he finds that nymph, and they were overcome by desire. And Sukra wished for the darkness of night to envelop the pleasure garden where he met the nymph. And after they entered a rest house in the garden, she pleaded, "Great one, I am tormented by desire for you. Only the dull-witted deride love, not the wise ones." And so saying, she collapsed on his chest. Sukra spent a very long time with that nymph, roaming at will in heaven. He lived with that nymph for a period equal to 8 world cycles. So 8 world cycles he stayed in the heaven. And after this length of time, as if his merit has been exhausted, Sukra fell from heaven along with that nymph. So a very important point to note here, that in Hindu religion, even heaven is not a permanent abode, right? It's not a permanent place where you stay forever. The period for which you will stay in heaven is decided by the merits, and when those merits are consumed, you have to fall back. So even heaven, hell, and earth are all temporary places. All depends on the karma. When their subtle bodies fell on earth, they became dewdrops which entered food grains which were eaten by a holy Brahmana, from whom his wife received their essence. Sukra became their son. The nymph had become a female deer, and Sukra begot through her a human child. So the nymph becomes a female deer, and through the union of Sukra in this new birth and with the deer, that female deer, they begot a new son. Now Sukra was greatly attached to his son, and worries and anxieties caused by this child soon aged him, and he died longing for pleasures. Like worries and anxiety age people, right? And what else can be a bigger source of worry and anxiety than have a child? He aged quickly and he died longing for pleasures. Then he becomes the ruler of a kingdom in the next birth, and then he died longing for a life of austerity and holiness. In his next birth, then he becomes a holy man, where he practices intense austerity. Interesting concept here, that Sukra followed the nymph in his mind. Okay, and if all these things were happening, his birth again and again, different life cycles, his stay in the heaven, then his birth as son of a Brahmana, then his death and rebirth as a king, and then another birth as a holy man. All this was happening, all these words were happening, all these rebirths were happening while Sukra was standing there in front of his father. Thus, contemplating while seated in front of his father, Sukra spent a long time. His body had become extremely emaciated. In the meantime, the restless mind created scene after scene of successive lifespans, births and death, ascent to heaven and descent to earth, and the peaceful life of a hermit. He was so immersed in these that he regarded them as the truth. The body had been reduced to skin and bone. He appeared terribly frightening even to look at. So he had spent a long time creating these worlds in his thoughts, living different lifespans in his thought. And his father Bhrigu was all the time, he was engaged in deep meditation. Very interesting now. The story. After 100 celestial years of contemplation, the sage Bhrigu got up from his seat. He did not see his son Sukra in front of him. He saw the dried up body. The body appeared hideous. An abode of worms which, dwelling in the eye sockets, had multiplied very fast indeed. So the body had dried up like a corpse, and even worms have gotten into the body, eaten the eyeballs, eye sockets. When Bhrigu saw this state of his son, he was filled with rage and resolved to curse time for causing the untimely death of his son. Time is called Kal in Hinduism, and Kal also means death. So time or death instantly approached the Bhrigu in physical form. He had a sword in one hand and a noose in the other. Calmly and in an unfaltering voice, time addressed Bhrigu. O sage, how is it that such a wise person as you are contemplate such unworthy conduct? Wise men are not upset even when they are offended. Yet you have lost your balance of mind, even though no one has offended you. Do not waste your merit in useless exhibition of your power to curse. Know that I am unaffected even by the fires of cosmic dissolution. How childish of you to hope to destroy me with your curse. I am time. I have destroyed countless beings, even the gods who preside over this universe. Time has destroyed everyone, even the creators. I am the consumer and you are our food. This indeed is ordained by nature. Do not give way to anger. This is surely the path to disaster. Realize the truth? Then time, Kala, tells Bhrigu what happened. He says, while you were engaged in contemplation, your son went far away in his own fancy. He left here the body which was the son of Bhrigu and rose up to heaven. And so he tells him the whole story. He repeats that how his son was a Brahmana boy, a king, a fisherman, a swan, again a king, a great yogi, and again the son of a sage. Now once again he has become the son of a Brahman known as Vasudev. He is well read in the scriptures and is at present engaged in penance on the bank of a holy river, Samanga. And so Bhrigu enters into the eye of wisdom, and he's in an instant he's able to see what exactly happened. Bhrigu then tells time, Lord, you are indeed the knower of the past, present and future, whereas we are of little understanding. This world appearance, which though unreal appears to be real, deludes even the heroic man of wisdom. Surely all this is within you, and only you know the true form of this phantom created by the imagination of the mind. By your grace I have seen my son again, and I realize that mind alone is the body. It is the mind that conjures up the world vision. So even this body is creation of the mind, is what he's trying to say, just like the world. It is the mind that creates the body by mere thoughts, just as the potter makes a pot. It creates new bodies and brings about the destruction of what exists. The three worlds. So the three worlds are the world of waking, Then second, the world of dreams. And third, the world of sleep, deep sleep, are nothing but the expression of the faculties of the mind. This expression can be considered neither real nor unreal. The mind is like the vast ocean with infinite varieties of creatures within it, on the surface of which ripples and waves of different sizes rise and fall. It is indeed true to say that there are no waves in the ocean. The ocean alone exists. Yet it is also true that there are waves. So we again and again throughout this book we see this analogy that mind and the world is like the waves in an ocean. In reality, they don't exist separate from the ocean or separate from water. They don't have their own identity as such. They're just illusions. Even so, the absolute Brahman alone exists. Since it is omnipotent, diversity has no real existence except in one's own imagination. All this is indeed the absolute Brahman. So after their conversation, time invites Bhrigu. He says, "Come, let us go where your son is engaged in penance in his new life." And with this, the 8th day has come to an end and the assembly dispersed. So 8 days already over. Next, one interesting thing happens. After Bhrigu and time go to the banks of the river and find Vasudev's Sukra, which is nothing but Sukra in his new incarnation. And they remind him of everything that has happened. After that, time asks Sukra to leave his current body of Vasudev and go back into the body which was there in Bhrigu's ashram. And interestingly, that how time has passed so differently, right? That corpse still lies there and is still there. Sukra has already taken multiple births. And then Vasudev, as Sukra, he gets into meditation, he drops his body. After that, with some mantras, his father Bhrigu revives the older body. So with that, the Shukra's story ends, and now Ram has a couple of questions. Ram asks Vasistha that, "Tell me the true nature of the waking and the dreaming states." So Vasistha replies, that state which endures is known as the waking state, and that which is transient is the dream state. During the period of the dream, it takes on the characteristics of the waking state. When the waking state is realized to be of a fleeting nature, it's the characteristics of a dream. The two are the same. That consciousness which is awake even in deep sleep, and which is also the light that shines in waking and dreaming, is the transcendental consciousness called Turiya. There is a beautiful video on the Turiya state by one Swami from, I think, Ramakrishna Mutt, and he beautifully explains this concept, which is also there in the Upanishad. So they share this concept of Turiya, and the consciousness being the observer in all these states, and the consciousness being the reality, the consciousness which experience the waking state, the same consciousness experience the deep sleep state, the dream state, and the same consciousness is also in the Turiya state. Interesting story, and I was amazed particularly by the idea that how different words, how time behaves very differently, and while a person is dreaming, different worlds have ended, different lifetimes have ended, and within the dream, while the period of the dream itself, he has moved on from one life to another. So it was interesting to see that particular aspect. Let me know what you think about this story. Did you like the story of Sukra? Do you have any questions related to this story, any queries or any thoughts? Please do share. Thanks a lot for being with me, and as we finish the story of Sukra, we'll catch up another time. Thank you.